Is it possible to get someone that can text me if the stream goes down? I try to keep track on the screen and on the phone, but if I'm meditating or whatever.
Right. Let me see. Yes, I can get somebody.
Yeah,
I
because
just realized what I could do, who I could get right now.
with so many people watching, I want to make sure we get this right.
We'll do our best. All right, so. That's good. Let's do our sound check. Are you ready?
Should I put this on? I don't know, I'll just box to box.
This is a test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yay! And the guitar is going to work, I know. Okay, we're good on that. So then, how about this? You have your phone there.
Yep.
Would you call Kathleen, who I talked to this morning? Let me get her number for you here.
Okay.
Bolton, huh? B-O-H-L. So Kathleen Bolton is at 206-390-8580. Kathleen, yeah.
Hi Kathleen, my name is Dave Brown. I'm here with Robert B. We're going to get the stream going soon. He mentioned you might be able to text me if it goes down, because it's sometimes a little difficult for me to track down.
Oh, she may be on Zoom.
503-421-5352. Thank you.
Did you leave a message?
Yeah, it was
Oh.
a voicemail.
I see, okay.
We can always ask for somebody in the Sangha to do it too.
Yeah. Hello out there in the world. Can you hear me? Please nod if you can hear me. Great. Emily, oh, you're on here. It's okay. Thank you. Oh, there's so many things happening. Not sure what to do because
It's not 100% necessary, it's just
let's just go with it then.
just a backup, yeah.
All right, thanks. 22 people on there. So we're 5 minutes from live.
Yep. Are you ready on the candles? How you doing, sir?
I'm a little tense.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to sit quietly here for a few moments. to those of you joining us on Ustream. No sound. Please hold with us for a moment. We're having a little bit of a moment of no sound. Fissure.
You thing on?
Oh, duh. Well, there. Have to turn on all the on buttons. So, hello to those of you joining us on Ustream, those of you on Zoom, and those on Facebook. I'm sorry, the sound on Facebook is not going to be great. I, at this moment, don't have a way to run the audio into there. So, thank you all for joining us. Here we are. Let's all reach out and hold hands virtually for a moment. We really are connected, even if we can't be together. I'm here alone in the Dharma Hall with Dave up on the camera and the audio, and the video, hopefully. It's a bit strange. Can you zoom out to the empty room, please? Can't do that with these other fixed cameras. It's interesting. I have my outer experience is an empty hall. My inner experience is I see, oh, teary. Wow. I see all of your faces, all of you that come here to PIMC, and it's so easy to conjure that up. It's been 15 years we've been meeting in here every Sunday. It's a long time, hundreds of times. And we will again. This crisis will pass. I listened to a lovely talk by Jack Kornfield, and he talked about the fact that 99% of us will survive this. And then we'll have the question, how do we live our lives? How shall we live together? And of course, that 1% is huge. And we will probably all know someone who succumbs to this. And so it will test our practice very deeply. So I want to actually begin with a poem by Naomi Shihab Nye. Oh, I want to get my drum. I'll be right back. It's hard to get all the details. Crash. Okay. I have something like 400 poems in my quiver, and this is one of the few from which I have the express permission of the author to use it in this way. So, Naomi Shihab Nye. This is making a bad noise. Before you know what kindness is, you must lose things. You must feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you hold in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out of the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you. Aha. Thank you, Jim. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to sorrow till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been searching for," and then goes everywhere with you like a shadow or a friend. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. So a theme, how to, let me see if I can tighten this thing again. How to really bring kindness to the fore during this time of challenge. Some of you are probably not familiar with PIMC, and some of you probably haven't run into the Buddha's teachings maybe before. But we're going to do something now that is very traditional here at PIMC, which is to join together and to sing the refuges. And this is not a religious process. This is a consciousness, a dharma process of reminding ourselves, in what can we take refuge? What now we see that our culture is vulnerable. And we're, of course, not the first people in the world to experience this. I think maybe I'll just do one thing at a time here. It's very finicky this morning. So hearing. All right, that'll do just fine. So the Buddha, what do we mean by the Buddha? There is a consciousness right now which is aware of, in your case, seeing, sitting, being there. That all-enveloping awareness is a place to begin with refuge. All the phenomena that come and go in the world, all the way from birth to death, they're all known by that. And then the Dharma, what do we discover when we pay attention in that way? Well, among other things, we discover that all things are impermanent. All things come and go. And the Sangha, the community of practice, here we are. We're creating a virtual community over thousands of miles, actually. But there's also the Sangha, the greater Sangha of those who have gone before us in practice and discovered that it's possible to really wake up. And then a dimension of it that I really like is the Sangha of all life, that we are, where did I put my iPad? We're sharing this planet right now with billions of beings, billions of humans, but countless other beings. And there's a lovely little quote I wanted to share today, one of my favorites. Have to find it a different way. Alan Watts. Here it is. This feeling of being lonely and very temporary visitors in the universe is in flat contradiction to everything known about humans and all other living organisms in the sciences. We do not come into this world, we come out of it, as leaves come out of a tree. As the ocean waves, the universe peoples, Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe. As the ocean waves, the universe peoples. Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe. That's us. We belong here, every single one of us. We're one of a kind ever. And so how important to treasure this aliveness. And here are the refuges. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, and Dharma. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. Sing along in your home. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. And finally, Sangha. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Well, playing and singing that in this empty room, broadcasting out to the world, shows that a person can grow. I had my first voice lesson 30 years ago. I cried rather than singing because there was so much shame. But it's possible to grow and change, blessedly. So, what to do? I always like to say, let's do the most important thing, nothing. But please find a comfortable, upright posture. Let yourself be at ease in your comfy spot. And let's summon or manifest something very beautiful, which is a kind, loving, accepting awareness. And of all the things that we identify with, one huge one is the body. So bring this kind, loving, spacious awareness. And notice the aliveness which is your body. Where do you notice the life? Hands, face, feet, back, buttocks. In fact, the experience of the body is exclusively the experience of life. Life manifesting as sensations, tingling, vibrating, pressure, pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations. A short time ago, when your mother could no longer breathe for you, you took your first gasping breath. Since then, with very short pauses, you've been breathing every few seconds. The reality is, or a reality is, that we are bottom dwellers on a planet, and we live at the bottom of an ocean of air, a few miles deep, enough that there's 15 pounds on every square inch of us from air. But this atmosphere, this life-giving, life-supporting atmosphere, is what we take in and release every few seconds. So why not really become interested in your breath? And coincidentally, interestingly, this new virus we catch because we breathe. We transmit through breathing. That's why it's so potent. Everyone breathes. And please now bring this same loving, spacious, gracious awareness with some focus through concentration to your heart, to your emotional center. Literally in your body. Notice what's happening there. A lot of people are experiencing much fear, anxiety. There's also anger and hopelessness and confidence and love and compassion. We're capable of this whole palette of experiences in the heart center. Being open to and accepting them all. And perhaps you're noticing the mind wandering. Perhaps the mind is a cacophony of thoughts and images and grief, images of loss, or images of bad things happening in the future. Fortunately, none of these are who you are or who we are. These are all phenomena that occur in awareness, or they can be. It's one thing to take up our meditation practice in what we think of as normal times. We'd like a little more peace, we'd like less anxiety, be able to focus to work and be with our loved ones. And it's quite another in times of existential challenge. So the stakes seem higher. So why not come home, not aggressively, but with purpose? Come home to the sensations of breathing. Notice that each breath has a beginning. It has a rising to fullness. And then there's a decline, and then there's a complete and utter disappearance. And noticing how this all can occur in the sweet arms of loving awareness. There are quite a few strategies we can use to calm the mind. The first is really profound acceptance. To not fight the contents of mind. Maybe there's really intense anxiety for you. Maybe even panic. I've talked to people who are really struggling. Or maybe you know someone who's sick and it's really freaking you out. Maybe your mind creates futures and imaginations of bad endings, and so it gets more and more anxious, sets off the fight-flight response. So another strategy we can use is to really attend carefully to the sensations of breathing. Don't observe the breath from a distance. Become totally intimate with it. Climb into the breath as you might climb into a hammock on a beautiful sunny afternoon. Nothing else is of importance when you're in your hammock of the breath. No thoughts, no images, no memories, no fantasies, no emotions even. Just climb in and relax. Another something we can do is to add a mantra. To add a mantra, we use a concept or an idea, and then we repeat it silently, interiorly, or you could do it out loud. And they can be very simple things like, on the in-breath, may I be happy. On the out-breath, may all beings be happy. And by happy, we don't just mean a good mood, we mean the great happiness of freedom. The great happiness of realizing that ultimately everything's okay. Breathing in, may I be happy. Out, may all beings be happy. Or you could simplify even more to just breathing in, calm. Breathing out, peaceful. Very traditional practice from the time of the Buddha. Breathing in, calming the body. Breathing out, calming the mind. Breathing in, calm body, calm mind. Breathing in, calm mind, calm body. Of great importance is the willingness to stop the war with your mind. Stop the war with reality. The fact is, the mind tries to keep us safe by thinking and planning and worrying. And that's a wonderful capacity the mind has. And it's really skillful and loving to not give it center stage all the time, to not believe it. And we have this refuge in the Buddha, in being awake, which allows us somehow mysteriously to awaken even in the midst of a virulent wandering mind, and then come home to the blessed neutrality and ease of breathing in and breathing out. We each sit in the intimacy of our own body, in the aliveness of our heart and our emotions, and in the mysterious fabrications of the mind, the thoughts, memories, plans. And there's an often spoken truth, which that the only thing that exists is this present moment. The past is a class of thoughts that exist now. The future is another class of thoughts that exist now. Freedom lies in knowing that thoughts are thoughts, emotions are emotions. And that they all exist in consciousness. They're all known by consciousness. The Tibetans have a beautiful phrase. They say that life is a magical display in consciousness. With birth and the extensive somebody training we go through, we develop a powerful sense of I, me, and mine. This is necessary for survival, for functioning. And it creates one end of a paradox. It's the end of personal identity. And so we live with this personal identity until our last breath. And then we vanish somehow. Just as we appear magically at birth, we disappear magically at death. In our meditation, we open to the possibility or the truth of the other end of this polarity, which is of our indescribable unbornness, the unborn and undying. The Buddha discovered that by cultivating mindfulness and the other enlightenment factors, we open the door to that vastness, to that at-easeness, which is the unspeakable, the unnameable. And every time we awaken to some identification with the wandering mind or an emotion, is a step to that freedom. It is that freedom. And as this time of meditation together comes closer to an end, I invite you to join me in the practice of taking and sending, the practice of opening our hearts to the infinite vastness in which we are all compassion, mercy, and awareness. It's from the Tibetans. It's called Tonglen. It goes like this. Ground in yourself, in your own body, in your own fears, your own confidence, your own pains. Let's not turn away from them. The more we do that, the more we get tense. But open to them. In fact, you might imagine that frightened part of you, that perhaps angry part of you. You might imagine that part as a little being, a little human, 2, 3, 5. Wrap her in the arms of your heart. Wrap them in your heart. What do we say to a small child that we're comforting? It's okay, sweetheart, I'm here. This is hard, this is scary, this is painful, but I'm here and you're okay. And we're together. It's comforting just to say that. And now, connecting in with your own heart, which is a manifestation of the earth living. It's the planet living. Imagine that this heart is the heart of Kuan Yin or the Buddha or the Christ or any other metaphor, chosen ideal you'd like to use. Maybe it's just the essence of love. And from this place, reach out to the world, to all beings who are suffering in some way from the fear of the coronavirus. It's billions of us. And opening up in this way from the heart of love, rest back into the field of love which supports all of us. And the Tibetans suggest that on the in-breath, we breathe in all the suffering in the universe, all the anxiety, all the fear. And for us, it could be the people in hospital or people at home with children struggling, or couples that are under duress because of the enforced time together. Breathing that all into the heart. The Tibetans say it forms a clockwise spiral of black smoke. And this isn't taking something ridiculous, impossible on to our personal being. It is we as that which is love. And then we breathe back. We breathe back to all over the earth. May you find peace. May you find compassion. May you be strong in the face of the challenge. And don't forget yourself. Breathing into your own heart, your own compassionate vastness, your own suffering, your own fears, your own contentment, your own beauty. It's all here. It's all of who we are. Breathing in the suffering of the world into the heart and breathing back love. I don't feel you have to do this perfectly somehow or have a perfect image. It's an inclination of the heart that we're doing here, which is to move beyond our sense that, oh no, this bad thing is happening to me. And it may be. But we're in such good company. We're in such good company. And so now, please once again orient to your body. Be here. Notice the aliveness in your chest and abdomen and legs, your fingers and hands and feet. Be here now and be alive. And then bringing awareness into the eyes. Let the eyes move around a bit in their sockets, and then Notice the effort it takes to allow the eyes to open, and then let that happen, and then be present. Know the miracle of sight. And I'm going to vanish for a moment to get a battery to stick on my iPad, which is about to die. So, we're not going to do a long movement thing today, but I invite you, take a moment to stretch before we continue. And in honor of Ruth Denison, I invite you, if you wish, just do a little follow the leader here with me. Hundreds of times I was in a hall with Ruth, and she would say, "Darling, follow these motions." And of course, if one fell asleep or fell into unconsciousness and didn't do it quite right, Ruth had the wherewithal to say, "You, Robert, are you falling asleep? Pay attention." I was, of course. So, just a few moments to breathe. Take in a deep breath. Exhaling on the way down. And let's be giant condors, soaring. Seems to me they had a baby condor born at the Portland Zoo, a few days ago. A great success. And then let's just put our feet apart and make big circles. Breathing in on the way up, out on the way down. And the other way. And coming to standing. Feeling the feet on the floor. And let's sway left to right, right to left. And let the rest of the body just kind of wave around. You could imagine that you're a kelp frond and your feet are rooted in the holdfast down on the ground, on the rocks on the bottom, and then your head is the the empty bulb of the kelp frond, and then you've got your fronds above, and let yourself flow in the current. If you meet someplace that's tight or hurting, don't hesitate to pause there and lean into it a little bit. Let yourself feel it even more fully. Oops. And then, I guess this could be kind of fun. I've never done this on a broadcast before. It's a secret teaching. You all have to swear you won't tell anyone. So, you want to do something really cool, meditator-wise. Let's levitate. Are you ready? Now, in order to levitate, you have to think light thoughts like helium or hydrogen or popcorn or cotton candy, I guess would work. And it goes like this. We're all going to bend our knees and then spring into the air and then hover for a little bit. And we'll do it 3 times. And be sure you're safe in your environment. We can't be responsible for the home environment for levitation. Watch out for low ceilings. You ready? And if anyone doubts it, it won't work. So you have to banish your doubt. Here we are. So we're bending down. Ready? 1, 2, 3, levitate. Now, there's somebody doubting. I can feel you. Let go of that doubt. We'll do it 2 more times. Bending the knees. 1, 2, 3, levitate. Now, I felt a little hovering. Did you? 1 more time, and this time we'll stay up for a long time. 1, 2, 3, levitate. Well, that was good. Thank you. Well, that was unplanned. It was off script. Uh-oh. I don't really have much of a script here. Where'd it go? It's down here. Oh, I did want to do this. Ooh, Dave, could you zoom in on this beauty? Thank you, Marla. Marla, our artist in residence of a sort. Everywhere she goes, she leaves beauty. I found this outside my office this morning. And look at that. Look at this. Look at what spring is doing. It's coming back. And that's a beautiful metaphor for us. That this is a challenging time, and we really, here in America, and Canada, I think it's the same, we really don't know what's coming here. I'm scared at times. Don't know. I don't want to get sick. I'm doing pretty stringent hide at home. Coming out here today, I used hand sanitizer in the car and on the doorknobs, and so I don't think this is a pretty low risk thing. Though this may well be the last broadcast from here, because it looks as though we're going to be told to not go out of our homes. Tomorrow was the guess when that'll happen. Probably a good thing. So, we here at the Portland Insight Meditation Community have geared up, and we're really hoping to continue to be of great service to you. If you go to portlandinsight.org, and in if you're on a computer, the first square on the left-hand side when you go down from the opening page, you'll see, if you click on the Read More tab, you'll see that there are classes, meditation groups. Monday night, Tuesday morning is coming, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and then the mornings of the week, 6 days of the week, I'm teaching, and then I'm here on Sundays. So every day of the week, you can tune in and get some support. And I'm very proud of how we've got that together. It's been kind of a scramble, and it's not quite as clear as it's going to be very soon in terms of how to access all that. Okay. This is one of those times that we've been training for, when we've been developing the uprightness of heart from our moral and ethical behavior and the concentration and mindfulness that we develop in meditation, exactly for moments like this. And I've been in other moments that have felt very similar to this. Waiting in the ICU, or waiting outside the ICU, or waiting outside surgery for word of how a loved one has made it through a life-threatening surgery, or have they survived the heart attack. This isn't an odd, in a way, its planetary nature is odd, but this circumstance where we're up against difficult challenges is the human condition. There's a very famous Buddhist story. I think it's the story of Maya Gotami, who came to the Buddha with her dead child. And she was weeping and wailing, as it's quite natural at such a time. And she pleaded with the Buddha, "Save my child, bring my child back, bring my child back." And he said, "I'm so sorry, I can't. That's beyond my capacity." And she kept pleading, and twice he said, "I can't. I don't have the capacity to do that." And finally he said, "Okay, I understand your need, and there is something I can do. There's a ceremony I can do. And there's the one thing that I need is I need a mustard seed from a home that has known no death." And so Maya Gotami was excited at that, and she went off and went from door to door. And at each home she would ask, I need a mustard seed from a home that has known no death. And at each door they would say, "Well, infant mortality was so high till very recently, but we lived a lot closer to death. And at any rate, even today," finally something happened, and she encountered one more person who said, we can't give you that because we too have known death." And then her heart changed, and she went back to the Buddha and said, I get it. I realize that I am part of a reality, this human condition, that includes this horrible experience I'm having now. And will you help me practice, to the Buddha, she said. And he did. And the story goes, as most of the stories go, I get a little jealous sometimes, that after a while, with her diligent practice, she awakened and became an arahat, a fully realized being. I don't know about that becoming an arahat, but I do know that if we are willing to turn toward the ways we're suffering with a warm-hearted mindfulness and compassion and love, and bear it, that something happens, something in our ability. We learn to face the dukkha, the first noble truth. We learn to face it and carry the dukkha, bear the dukkha like a wagon bears a load. And then we start noticing how the mind is what's causing the suffering. The mind that's creating the future or the past is creating the suffering, the extra suffering, the added on, the freak out, and that there can be relief from that. And that's the cool, fresh release of nirvana or nibbana, of being in the present moment, realizing the pain is there perhaps, but not having all the extra, the papancha, the mental proliferation, which makes it so much worse. So this is a time, I would say, to spend more time in your formal meditation. Why not? If you're home and if you can, it's such a challenging time for people with children, very difficult. But if you can, Why not sit for an hour a day or 2 hours a day? Why not do walking meditation? Go out in your garden if you have one and walk back and forth, being aware of lifting, moving, placing, lifting, moving, placing. It sure is a lot more functional and healthy than watching the news, which can take us down the drain awfully fast. So I want to go over the paradigm. And I'm going to do it with anxiety because there's so much of it right now. Because we don't know. And that insecurity is very challenging. So in the formal meditation sense, I'm sitting in meditation. My intention is to be here with my breath, and I can feel it. It's alive. It's here. And so I'm breathing in and breathing out, or it's breathing itself in and out, in and out. And then the mind goes off to, well, what if this, and what do I have enough food, and what? Oh, look at what the stock market has done, and what about? And I can't get to my mother, and she's sick, and what about all this stuff? Turn toward that. What we want to do is shut it off, right? I don't want to experience that. But instead of doing that, pause and turn the awareness toward those thoughts, that anxiety. Feel where it exists in your body and abide there. Bring that same loving, kind, patient awareness into the actual sensations. And who wants to do that, right? We really want to escape from it. Well, the only escape is through in a circumstance like this. So we turn toward it, we bear it for a while, we notice the thoughts that are associated with, and then maybe come back to the breath and see if it's possible to find the peacefulness which is there simply in being in the present moment in the body. And if it isn't, then keep working at it. Or if the agitation is too high, don't sit, do walking meditation. Or create some movements, or do your yoga routine or your Tai Chi routine. But stay in engagement with the recognition that these phenomena that are occurring are malleable, they're workable, they're not fundamentally who we are. I mean, that's giant. To not identify with the anxiety or the anger or the blaming or the enemy imaging or any of these phenomena that are occurring. If you watch them closely, they all exist in mind as flowers in air. They exist and then they disappear. They exist and then they disappear. So in this moment, why not plop into your body? You don't need to do anything fancy. It's just, all right, I'm leaning here, I'm sitting here. These are the emotions that are here now. This is the way it is right now. Let me see here. Oops, unexpected error. Boom, boom, boom. Recent. Oh, yeah. I want to share a poem with you that I wrote a couple of years ago. It has to do with the preciousness of our loved ones. And in these times, we could become tense and distanced, or we could become more open and close and willing to acknowledge the precious reality of having each other. And before too long, before too many months have passed, when we can re-engage here and when we can re-engage in our lives more, we'll have the same choice then. How is it that I want to re-enter my active life? And this poem points to a way, I think, a possibility or a recognition. I'd gone to New Orleans, the Jazz Fest with Jennifer. She went to college in New Orleans and she loves it, going to the Jazz Fest. And she took me to see her special places and so on. On my last day there, we got a cab, and we went to her friend's. She was staying with a friend for a few days longer. And we went to her hotel, and I got out of the taxi, kissed her rather quickly, and got in the car and then left. And then on the plane, on the way home, this poem came to me. I walked back to the restroom and came back, and this was there. It's called 33,000 Feet. People sleep, watch videos, play games on screens, and sip at wine. We hurtle west over snow-covered mountains. A chasm opened, or perhaps just revealed itself, with a taxi goodbye kiss. That moment of looking away one plane change ago, it's always the same. Here and then not here. It's that simple. Those moments that we actually have when we can touch, hear, see, and smell one another are all we really have. The stakes are high, aren't they? Either we connect and love one another now, or not at all. That moment of looking away one plane change ago, it's always the same, here and then not here. It's that simple. Those moments that we actually have when we can touch, hear, see, and smell one another are all we really have. The stakes are high, aren't they? Either we connect and love one another now, or not at all. So I have about, 30, 40 people here on 41 on Zoom in our virtual space. And I'm not sure how many people are watching on, there's a number there, I can't see it from here, on Ustream and Facebook. But in a few moments, I'm going to open up the channel to some sharing and comment from Zoom people. I'm sorry that this will be possibly not audible to those of you on Facebook. But before I do that, I want to do one other thing. Ta-dam! This was my monk's bowl when I was briefly in Burma as a monk back in 1979. It's kind of beaten up. It's had some hard days. But this bowl is a transformer, a metaphor of the transformation that receives the generosity of the members of our community and turns them into Dharma. And so during this time when we're not meeting in person, it remains important that the part of ourselves who can contribute some of our financial well-being to the center will be continue to be very important. And so at this moment, the easy thing to do is to go to the portlandinsight.org website and press donate in the top corner. The best thing would be to become a member of the Stewardship Circle, which then is a monthly contribution and helps us with balancing the budget. And I guess the other thing, very important, don't think I've ever done this on a broadcast. You see this dead battery? It's mine. Ugh. All of a sudden there's a wall. We have to build walls. We have to build defenses because I have to defend it. If I can say instead, here it is, I have a little extra, it's ours. All of a sudden we're connected. So that's the spiritual foundation of the practice of generosity. which is as important as the practice of meditation. And may become even more important during this time. There will be many who need us. So, I think I'll do this. Is there anyone out there in Zoom land who would like to ask a question or share something? I see several friends out there. Oh, you'll need to have your camera on to wave, otherwise I wouldn't see you. Oh, there we go. Jonas, unmuting. Oh, and there's Avi down below Jonas. You'll need to unmute yourself, Jonas.
I'm sorry, Robert. I was just waving to say hello.
Oh, just waving to say hello. Okay, well, hello.
And I'll talk to you Tuesday.
All right.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Are we going to do our talk,
Let's not do that. Let's not do this on here where we're broadcasting. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Anybody else? It's funny. Michael. Oh, you popped over to a different spot. You'll have to unmute. There you go.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to share that it completely left my mind about the work that I did for the PIMC and for all of you in terms of collecting the donations for the transition projects. And it came to me that need probably is as great as ever. And so I don't have a solution, but I will look into how we might be able to continue that work and come back at another service. But just please keep all the people that are on the streets in mind and are working towards some form of permanent housing.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Michael has had, we have a treasure chest over here, which has been filled many, many times with clothing to take to transition projects, which helps people when they move off the streets into housing. So thank you, Michael. And let me know any ideas you have and I can send them out to people. Thanks. What's it like? What's it like being in social isolation, my friends? Anybody want to share about that? Or any questions at all?
Hey, Robert.
Oh. Hi, Kathleen in Seattle.
Yeah, from Seattle. Greetings and love to you all. I am just very, very grateful for you and for all the years of practice. Because it just feels like going home. It's so very comforting, and in a way I feel like I've been on retreat because my life is so quiet. And because I've done silent retreats for 5 days or 6 days with you or many other times, all this comes back to me very quickly. So I just feel immense gratitude for my practice, for you, and for my life. And thank you.
Thank you for that. And it is really like getting back on the bicycle. I mean, I've talked to people who I taught 35 years ago, and they forgot about it. But then when they come back to it, bam, it's right there. Quite remarkable. Anybody else? Oh, here we are. It's Danny Mankin over there in the outdoors. Hi, Danny.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
I just wanted to mention something I heard on NPR the other day that I thought was very helpful, that instead of social distancing, we want to do distant socializing.
What a great idea.
So what we're doing is we're like setting up coffee dates with people on Zoom or meals or happy hours, because there's such a possibility now of becoming really disconnected. And instead, it's really a great way to just kind of call people, and we have, you know, it's a blessing, at least in this technological age, that we can actually see people and talk to them. I'll just also put in a plug for doing your yoga online. There are a lot of, including our business, but there's a lot of places you can go and do yoga online, or stretching or exercises, so do that. But yeah, was a very helpful thought, and we've set up meetings with friends, and I just encourage the community here to do that.
That's a great idea. A great idea. We could have dinner with friends at a distance. The friends you've been talking about having dinner with that's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, it's Avi. Hang on here. All right, there you go, Avi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Not very loud, though.
All right, well, let's see.
Just get closer to your mic.
Yeah, maybe.
Better.
I think as we go forward, there's going to be social niceties around Zoom calls. You know, somebody was telling me that her experience was that people's faces are right up close to the screen, and it makes her feel a little claustrophobic. So some people might want people in their Zoom calls to push back a little bit from the screen. It'll be interesting to see how that happens. I just wanted to, I've got a few different tracks of things, but I think there's some information that I want to put out there. That in talk about social distancing, it is very clear from the news that I've read in Oregon and California and nationally that being outdoors and outdoor exercise is a gray area that everybody, even the officials, is still trying to figure out. So even though there are stay-at-home orders, there is nobody who is absolutely saying you can't go outside. And I will also share with you that there's somebody in one of my social circles who's putting together this morning a singing circle where we are all going to observe social distance. We're all going to stand at least 6 feet away from one another. And we're going to see what it feels like to sing in real space.
Great idea.
And there's absolutely no prohibition against that. We can actually go into public spaces as long as we are conscious and mindful and keeping our distance from other people, because that is the way that we prevent the virus from spreading. The virus is spread within 6 feet and by touch.
Excellent.
So I would like to put that out to people, that it's very easy to go to this extreme and think that we all have to be shut up in our homes. Now maybe it'll get to that. Maybe the officials will say at some point, stay in your homes, don't go outside. But I'm not seeing anybody say that yet, either Oregon or California.
Thank you. You done?
Yeah, all done.
Okay, thank you, Avi. Therese. Hello, Therese of Seattle.
Hi, Robert. It is so wonderful to see you and practice and with you attending like a retreat. On the idea,
If there's any way you can get closer to your microphone, it would help, because it's very dim.
does this help at all?
That helps a bit.
My mother passed away recently, and we had a memorial service for her. And she had auditory hallucinations, and she was pretty deaf by the time she died, and she heard a beautiful tenor singing. So at her memorial service, an amazing tenor came and sang in honor of her, and I just say that as a preamble to, I contacted him. My 91-year-old father is in assisted living across the street from me, and yesterday I was told I could no longer visit him. And he's, about the only thing he remembers about the memorial service is the opera, the tenor singing. He has dementia. He knows me, and it's very hard on him to not have visitors. It's hard on me. with my mother just passing. And I contacted the tenor, and he has agreed to, and you know, musicians are out of work, so I'm bringing this up for that reason also. It's a way to help them get some employment, but he's agreed to a gig outside my father's window
Oh, how lovely.
at the assisted
Mhm.
living, and we're working it out, you know, so that it can be in a huge courtyard, and all the old people can open their windows and come out on their balconies, and
That's too cool.
it's a way to, you know, if anybody plays an instrument or singing, might want to actually 6 feet apart from one another, go somewhere where people are trapped and lonely. That's an idea.
So Therese, some of you I'm sure didn't hear, Therese's mother died recently, and a tenor came and sang at the memorial service, and the same tenor is going to sing soon outside her father's assisted living place. And also, she can't see her father anymore right now because they've closed the doors. So it's a way, an invitation to musicians to find a way to express your beauty. It just reminded me, I remember back in the horrors of, well, what city was it? There was a city that was shut down and there were snipers. Anyway, there was a world-famous cellist who would play every day in the town square. So there's many ways to give, aren't there? Thank you, Therese. Can people make sure to mute their microphones? Let me mute them all again, and then we'll... Okay. Oh, that's unmute. Wrong. There we go. There's muted. Okay, anybody else to share here? Oh, Doyle. I couldn't tell if that was your foot, given the distance. Hang on. There you go. Doyle Banks.
Hey, Robert and everyone. Good morning, and thanks for everyone for showing up. I just wanted to share that tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on Zoom, I'm going to offer what I call Open for Empathy. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or frightened or whatever, or if you just want some company for an hour or so, please just join us. I sent out a notice on Connections, and if you didn't get it and want the information, just send me an email at doyle@doylebanks.com, and I'll send you the information to sign up. And I'm just going to be there to offer support, empathy, love, encouragement, a listening ear, an open heart to whoever needs such. And I remember a few years ago hearing a lot of people upset about the plight of social media and how it was actually creating less connection in a lot of people's lives. And it's so wonderful to see now how the creative human spirit is figuring out how to turn that around and connect. So thanks to all of you for showing up for these online gatherings, and thanks, Robert, and all for making it happen. That's all.
Doyle, would you please send the connection information of that to Avi? And Avi, let's talk after about getting stuff onto the web if you can today.
Yeah, I will.
Thanks.
Do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doyle. And here is, I don't have a name. You might have to unmute yourself. Christy.
Hi.
Hi.
Boy, I really appreciate that we're all here together. And Robert, if we get the coronavirus, it might be hard to concentrate on my breathing. That might be a struggle. What else can I do?
Even before then, if you go to YouTube, if you look for Robert Beatty meditation on YouTube, there's about, I don't know, there's at least 100 Sundays recorded, and there's one there where I talked about sickness and how to work with sickness. And when you're sick, the primary object becomes the symptoms. And so if you had coronavirus and were having the tightness in the throat and the coughing, that becomes your meditation object. And if there are fearful thoughts and whatever, to just open into that, and one opens into the symptoms more and more until they cease being a problem. I had a brain surgery recently, and in the last 6 months, and when I was completely blasted on the pharmaceuticals, the anesthesia, and then I had a medication I had a bad response to. There was no meditating at all. There was just surviving. There was no mindfulness. But then within a day, the mindfulness started coming back, and then I was able to soften into it and open, and then I had these incredibly loving human beings around me. The nurses and my neurosurgeon, and I found that loving kindness was just everywhere. So being sick is the perfect time to practice. And we practice ahead of time with the breath. The breath is the training wheels. It's the training wheels and the, it can help us develop profound insight. But it then as soon as we get out, like when you get off your cushion today and you go about your life, don't stop practicing. Whatever it is you're going to do next, be mindful there and be therefore more present for the child you're with or your partner. Or does that making sense, Christy? You know, another thing is there's a guided meditation at portlandinsight.org under meditations, guided meditations. You'll find a meditation on pain, dissolving pain. That's a great one for that purpose. Many people have reported to me that their first experience of really profound concentration came when they were sick and had some significant pain, because they spent the time. What else are you going to do? When television is boring, which is most of the time anyway, and when radio gets boring at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're wide awake and you're in pain, what else are you going to do? You could fight it, or you could turn toward it and soften and bring love and compassion. And also that Tonglen practice that we did at the end of the meditation. Any symptom we're having, there are millions of people on the planet that are having the same symptom. And so we're in such good company always. And to remember that and to soften into that. Okay? Great, very important for us to have that question. Thank you.
Robert?
Oh.
Could you make a little addendum to that about sedation and maybe if things are a little bit cloudy?
It can be challenging, of course, if you're sedated, and then you just do the best you can. And something I found on several occasions, with mindfulness and with the ability to turn toward the pain, sometimes one can do with less medication. Now, I don't want to set it up as you're a meditator, you shouldn't use medications, because sometimes, particularly post-surgery, it really makes sense to use them. But there's also accepting whatever concentration and mindfulness that you have. Okay, another person, anybody? Here we are, Danny again. I was just going to say, I see my friend Jill in Whitehorse. Hi, Jill. Hi, Danny. Yes.
I was just gonna pipe in again. One, to plug that you're doing the everyday morning at 7 a.m., which has been very helpful. Everyone knows that they can go on at 7 a.m. And second, one of the things that's occurred to me during this is a prime example of the second arrow. And maybe you might elaborate on that. The first arrow being the virus, and the second arrow being what we do and how we elaborate on that story. So I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, thank you. So Danny pointed, let me grab my props. I think it's worth the moment. I have props. I think I can find them. Ho! Here we are in the secret bowels of the sound room. So, a story, a teaching by the Buddha. Arrows. One of these arrows I found in the backyard at PIMC, deep in the ground, way back when we first got the building. So, thunk. If I were shot by an arrow, do you think it would hurt? And would I be suffering? Why, yes, of course. If I were shot by yet another arrow, would it hurt even more and get worse? Why, yes. The Buddha used this metaphor. What if this first arrow is inevitable? Birth, sickness, old age, decay, death, pandemics. Pandemics are normal. They happen every now and then, just like floods and earthquakes and heart attacks, and they're normal. So this is normal. But the second arrow, this is the second noble truth. This is the first noble truth. There is suffering. The second arrow is the suffering that occurs in response to this pain is optional. That this is the, I want more pleasure, I want more pleasure, I don't want pain, I don't want pain, I can't stand the pain, I don't like the pain, I want the pleasure, and maybe just kind of spacing out and not really paying attention, or wanting to become something. I want to become on the other side of this coronavirus thing. I want to become safe, I want to become... So there's three parts of this. Pushing away, pulling toward, and wanting to disappear from now and be some other time. These are observable. And by observing these cravings, we can, in fact, pull out the second arrow. Oh, that's kind of cool on the screen. So whatever pain we're experiencing, if we learn how to bear it like a wagon bears a load, and to watch how the mind is making papancha, mental formations, mental proliferation, freaking out about it, we can actually stop the freaking out and the demand for things to be different, and then we experience the third ennobling truth, which is sweet relief. The symptoms may stay exactly the same, but the anguish can diminish profoundly. And that's the basic paradigm of meditation practice. It's really about learning to grow up in a way. Learning that things are as they are, and if I can somehow or another develop enough concentration, curiosity, energy, joy, tranquility, equanimity, patience, these 7 enlightenment factors, if I can develop them, then I can, in the same circumstances, I can suffer radically less. So thank you, Danny. How are we doing for time? Oh, got some more time if you want. Oh, another outdoor person. Nice. I hear voices, but I guess it's not from you. Well, just occurred to me, I'd like to do something with you before we end. Hang on a second. Advertising. It just occurred to me this morning. I was sitting and I remembered a marvelous book called When Things Fall Apart, which is by Pema Chodron. Oh, thank you. My thing spoke to me. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm going to offer an online class reading that book. Maybe I'll weave it into the every morning, 6 days a week. I'm on at 7, from 7 to 8 o'clock. You can find that information on how to connect with that on the portlandinsight.org website. But I'm going to do something specifically around that beautiful book, When Things Fall Apart, which is really very helpful at times when things are falling apart. Oh, let me read this too. I read it one of the other mornings, and someone wrote me and said it was that they felt calmness as soon as I read it. So, it's a poem. It's strong medicine. It's a poem. Hang on, here, doing two things at once again. Hurrying. Why am I hurrying? Silly. Here it is. It's a poem by Jennifer Wellwood, which actually I'm happy to announce is the preface in a way, or it's at the start of one of the chapters of my book, which just went to the publisher. So it'll be out by fall sometime. And this is a poem that I think of as like when you get up in the morning and you're really groggy and you go to the sink and you fill it with cold water and you splash it on your face. It's like, wake up. It's that kind of poem. You ready? Are you braced? Are you... Take a deep breath. My friends, let's grow up. Let's grow up. Let's stop pretending we don't know the deal here. Or if we truly haven't noticed, let's wake up and notice. Look, everything that can be lost will be lost. It's simple. I mean, that's a line, isn't it? Look, everything that can be lost will be lost. It's simple. How could we have missed it for so long? Let's grieve our losses fully like ripe human beings. But please, let's not be so shocked by them. Let's not act so betrayed as though life had broken her secret promise to us. Impermanence is life's only promise to us. And she keeps it with ruthless impeccability. To a child, she seems cruel, but she is only wild. And her compassion is exquisitely precise, brilliantly penetrating, luminous with truth. She strips away the unreal to show us what's real. This is the true ride. Let's give ourselves to it. Let's stop making deals for a safe passage. There isn't one anyway, and the cost is too high. We are not children anymore. The true human adult gives everything for what cannot be lost. Let us dance the wild dance of no hope. It doesn't say let's be hopeless, but let's accept things as they are. She strips away the unreal to show us the real. This is the true ride. Let's give ourselves to it. Let's stop making deals for a safe passage. There isn't one anyway, and the cost is too high. We are not children anymore. The true human adult gives everything for what cannot be lost. Let us dance the wild dance of no hope. So before we go, I'd like to do this with you. My dear teacher, Ruth Dennison, passed away 4 years ago. One of the things she did was to bring movement into Dharma practice. And she was the consummate creator of dances and rituals and just an amazing presence. And so I want to share with you something that she did often or a few times. And she did in this hall, actually, and we've done it here a few times. And if you want to do it with me, please stand. And there's a song that goes with it. It's a variation on a song created by a woman in Alaska. I'm forgetting her name. Anyway, it goes like this. Stay close to the earth. Live close to the ground, and you touch the ground. Feel the ground that supports you. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know we are alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. So join me if you wish. Live close to the earth. Stay close to the ground. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. And in the touching, it's touch, 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 or caress, or being here in the simple things, which is our life. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. And this time when we do that simple things, virtually do it with each other's hands from the Yukon to Doha, all over the planet. Let's stay close to the earth. Stay close to the ground. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we are alive. Oh, alive, it's us. It's out. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. One more time. Live close to the earth. Stay close to the ground. Don't go far away from your heart, and reaching out to each other. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Well, so if all goes well, it's my plan to be back here on Sunday next week and each morning. And I also want to remind you to go to the portlandinsight.org website, where there's such a wealth of information, and to check in on all the other offerings that are happening, because every day of the week you can touch in and be connected with community. Now, most mornings Sundays, the kids come in, and then we make a big circle, and then we sing a song, and then we blow out the candle. I can't blow out the candle from here, so we may pass up on that part. But it is fun, I've discovered on my previous Zoom broadcasts, to do the song together. So I'm going to unmute everybody. It's just kind of a gas. Here we go. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, dear friends, for coming. It's very sweet and supportive of me to know that we're doing this together. There's more going on. That's interesting. I don't know how that's happening. Maybe it's maybe. All right. Well, these are the interesting phenomena of the delay. So, plopping into your body, be here now. Be here now. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And let's do our best to flatten the curve, to keep our hospitals not overwhelmed, and particularly our elders safe. So till soon, thank you all for joining us here. Bye-bye. Ending that meeting. Goodbye, dear friends on Facebook.